Quick video on this thing. Well, I hope it's a quick video. It's kind of a shame. Like, what could have been? I believe that this is the only one of the 4 drops that doesn't have the search party origin trait. And of course, we're talking about Horror Story. It's back. A 450 kinetic auto. You get it from the Haunted Lost sectors. It still has that early D2 DNA. It has scopes, not barrels. And I wanted to make this video because if you're playing those Lost sectors, they're going to be dropping. But I do believe that the use case scenario is going to be very small. There's a couple things that it can do well, but those things, I think, get it into trouble. The elephant in the room is the scopes. Bungie doesn't do this anymore. It carved up development time on a weapon, and zoom has been an ongoing issue as far as the Crucible, as far as balance, like Drang, Peace of Mind, Shira, Multi-Mach, you get it. It affects things. So this is that early D2 style, and put it this way. This AR family, most other ARs, they sit around 27, 30 meters at base, but since this has scopes, the base range is 27 on this thing. When you put on the rifle scope, ST, the longest zoom 1, the range jumps to 40 meters. Very long for an AR, like very long. It can cap it right under 45 meters with all range perks. And with those mid-range scopes, like the red dots, it gets to about 35. So out of the gate for the Crucible, it has the potential to be the rangiest AR. One of them at least, like into pulse range. PvE, it's gonna get your damage out there. That could be appealing. And there are some things to look for as far as PvE. So as these drop, it's gonna be up to you. But for most of you, probably not. Let's remember, these did get a couple buffs as far as the Crucible. First one on June 30th, this week at Bungie. They increased the body shot damage from 19 to 20. Multiplier for precision moves from 1.6 to 1.5. Then recently, like this October, they increased the effects of the stability stat on recoil reduction by around 20% at the high end, and they increased the crit damage multiplier from 1.5 to 1.55. So it makes the damage go to 31. So we have a 31 crit, 20 to the body. It allows a 5 crit, 2 body, 0.8 TTK, 195. High resilience is going to be 6 crit, 1 body. This does help them. Like, it was a major help. They play a lot nicer in that space. But where it gets interesting, first of all, Horror Story has no damage perks. None. 0. So it comes down to PvE utility and PvP dueling. And again, I'm not sure a lot of you are going to be on board. In the third column, we have Grey Robber, Killing Wind, Firmly Planted, Subsistence, Ambitious Assassin, Outlaw. Fourth column, Sympathetic Arsenal, Demolitionist, Osmosis, Moving Target, Snapshot, Slideways. Now for PvE, the real winner here is Demo. There's only 3 kinetic ARs with Demolitionist. This one, Last Breath, and Tiger Spite. And one would say these are all kind of misfit ARs in the first place. Very seldomly seen, but loved by some players. And for Demo, the pairing perk would be Subsistence or Ambitious Assassin, because Subsistence is really cool with Demo. You can get kills, get nade energy, get ammo back. When you're low, throw the grenade. Bypass the reload. Start getting the grenade back. And as far as Ambitious Assassin, it got buffed. It's pretty good now. This is the only active kinetic AR to have Sympathetic Arsenal. You get a kill, reload. It reloads all weapons. And then we have Osmosis, kind of rare for an AR. It's only on 3 current ones. This one, the Craftable Firefight, and Braytech. So for PvE, the decision that needs to be made for you are these factors. Number 1, do you want high range on an AR for PvE? Maybe a champion AR, like anti-barrier AR, to get the range out, the damage out. Number 2, Demolitionist on a kinetic AR. 3, Osmosis on a kinetic AR. If that is the case, any of those things, you want high range with the rifle scope ST. Subsistence Demo, I think that's the main PvE role to go for. And of course, Osmosis, Sympathetic Arsenal after that. If that's not your jam, don't do it. Don't bother. Don't let FOMO on this thing be a factor at all. You're either going to use it or you won't. Like, I've had a Horror Story in my vault for about 2 years. It's Killing Wind Moving Target, and I deleted it because I was grinding these things. I was like, well, it's going to have the trait. It's going to be better. Well, it doesn't have the trait. I rarely used it. I used it maybe 2-3 times in the past couple years. Like, when it first got the AR body shot buff, I pulled it out, and it did better, but the frame still has faults. So for the Crucible, again, if it had that origin trait, I'd be a little bit more inclined to recommend it, because when it comes down to, I think that there's only 2 roles to look for. And again, those 2 roles are very specific. They do one thing and one thing only, and that is duel. My issue with any AR, you have to be somewhat in the open. The peak shot capabilities are limited. So if a messenger gets on you, a no time, a BXR, a Peace of Mind, you're in trouble, because you're in that 35, 36, 40 meter range. They clap you bad. You're more so banking on them to miss. And that's keeping in mind, you're staying on the target while getting flinched. They could knock you off. If they knock you off, it's over. You need to land that required 6 crit, 1 body, 5 crit, 2. And you can't be in fall off. So the same deal, I would go max range with a rifle scope. As far as the perk interactions, Killing Wind Moving Target. And I deleted this one. And if it had that search party trait, man, you would have a weapon that's getting ADS speed, movement speed, not next to allies. So a little bit faster ADS movement speed. Then Moving Target. to add on to your strafe speed. Get a kill, plus 20 range, it would be at 100 range. Then we have the best scaler in the game for your strafe. So that's 3, but it only has 2. That would have been really interesting. So alternatively, since you don't get the scaler from Search Party, with this scope, with what you're trying to do, I would actually go Killing Wind Snapshot. Snapshot to get that scope, not sluggish. Killing Wind for max range and the strafe scaler to duel. That would be my number 1 role. Max range, rifle scope, Killing Wind, Snapshot. After that, it's something like you've been seeing. Firmly planted, Snapshot. Firmly planted, Slideways. I have Firmly planted Slideways. And Firmly planted is all but a dead perk. I've always loved it. Really good on scouts, really good on some weapons. It's rarely seen. It is one of the most powerful perks in the game. Like while you're crouched, plus 20 stability, plus 30 handling, massive accuracy cone help, and you can slide right into it with Slideways, and that gives plus 20 stability and handling. That combination together is plus 40 stability, plus 50 handling. But the issue is, as you've seen, you're knee sliding right into Firmly planted. It works, but you are pretty much at that point a tree. You are planted in a minefield in the middle of nowhere. You have to take the duel. No cover, you have all your buffs up on your weapon. It's all out in the open. Now you can crouch next to cover, but again, while I do feel you can do well, and long range is the actual appeal here, because that scope with what it can do. You're in waters that get you into trouble very fast. Out in the open versus a Forerunner, Messenger, any Pulse, any Scout, you're in trouble. I do like Firmly planted. And again, that could be with Snap or Slide. The shooting experience is pretty amazing, extremely stable, vacuums headshots, but you're kind of dead weight. And wherever you decide to plant yourself, that's where the duel's getting ready to go down. And for some of you out there, that's not your playstyle. You're not going to want to do that. You'd be more along the lines of the Killing Wind Snapshot crowd. If this was a 600, like Skaithlock, it has that base 2x zoom. It gets to 37, 38 meters. It does better in those duels because of how fast it's firing, the flinch that it applies, its TTK, things like that. So Horror Story is kind of a tough sell. It's going to be for a very specific player. Max range, demo with subsistence, PvE. Max range, Killing Wind Snapshot for PvP. Then of course, all the other little combos I talked about. I do think that Braid Tech is a much better AR. I'm going to be talking about that later on, probably in the early part of next week. There's still some things I want to get for it. It does better in that design space of a 450. There's a lot to talk about with Braid Tech, but as far as this one, only a select few I think are going to want it. And if you do want it, it's for a very specific thing. Me, most others, not so much. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Horror Story down below. I do wish that it had the trait, but the more I think about it, if it did, my mindset still kind of stays the same. And with this thing, it's always like what could have been. Like if it had some damage perks, I would start to consider it a little bit more, but as it is right now, not so much. Let's talk about it down below. What are your thoughts? What roles do you like? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.